24 hours here, starting at 1 o'clock this weekend.
5.3 kilometres, getting in for just over 3.5 miles.
Now, we have a massive crowd here.
Biggest grids in GT3 and Porsche 992 Cup that we've ever seen. Historic numbers of cars. The intensity is ramping up. As the green flag is in the air, and the Porsche straight away tries to get it out. It's a long, long run on the top of the brow and down towards the first corner. But the power of the pure racing and right there. By side through the first corner. Audacious manoeuvre. This is going to be a bit closer. It's only 16 seconds as he goes on to his last lap now.
Between their brand new machine, the M4 GT3 Evo.
Congratulations, you've got the car home, you've won the Dubai 24 hours.
It's Friday evening at the Dubai Autodrome, and this is a first, folks. The top 10 shootout for the Michelin Dubai 24 Hours. It's 21st edition, and although we have a grid set from 11th place backwards for the GT3s and all the other cars in their various categories, earlier on in GT qualifying for the top 10, it was just about making it there, and now every car with a single driver gets one lap, basically, to determine where they're going to start in those first 10 positions. So this is high stakes stuff and isn't necessarily going to give us a result that we could predict easily, because it might mean that one car is eliminated because of track limits, or another car gets a snatch break somewhere. There's all the information though, and it's about a top 10 from the general qualifying, which will go through to the shootout. There's no restriction on driver. We may even see drivers that we've not yet seen before. I'm Johnny Palmer, delighted to be joined by Ben Constanduras for this segment of the weekend, and we're kind of launching into the unknown. We'll get a word from Ben in just a second, but there, as mentioned, any driver from the entry may drive in the shootout. One flying lap, so it's an out lap from the pit lane, and you only get 10 seconds to leave the pit lane at the correct time. If you miss that 10-second delta time, there are potential penalties there as well, and also a new set of tyres for this shootout, which once again must be used in the race, just like the individual sets that had to be used in Q1, Q2 and Q3. So we'll hear from Ben in just a tick, but before that, as the sun is setting very dramatically beyond the skyscrapers here in Motor City, we can hear from Carla Velti in the pit lane.
You are hitting it right on the spot. The sun is setting, and the people back in the colder regions in Europe, they will be angry when I say that, but it's getting chilly as well. So it will be a challenge for every car going out here, because temperatures have changed a lot to when the GT3 cars were last out on the track during sun time and a lot more temperature in the air. We do have 10 cars going out, of course. The slowest one from these 10 is going out first, and then minute by minute they will go out lap, quick lap, and come back in, and the next one will go out. We will see who is the first one to start tomorrow during the 24-hour race, and I will make sure that everything that happens down here in the pit lane will be reported back to you.
We do know that one car's not going to be there, though, because on a technical infringement, the 777 Almanar by Dragon Racing Ferrari 296 isn't going to take part. And what I don't know, Ben Constanduras, is does that mean that the number 74 Optima Motorsport McLaren that finished 11th, yes it does, there we go, there's the answer, it gets the benefit from that. We don't quite know the full ins and outs of that regulation that has been breached, but clearly something's gone awry with the 777 car. Almanar, it was their name above the door, taking the victory in 2025. There's no saying that it can't come back fighting, of course, but it's going to have to do it the hard way now, starting from, well, I guess 11th. It might be worse than that, but this is the car to benefit, Ben.
Yes, so we get a chance to see Benji Goth aboard the Optimum Motorsport McLaren 720S. Both Optimum cars finishing the qualifying session in 11th and 12th position, but getting in by dint of that disqualification of the 777. So an opportunity to see what Benji Goth can do. A little bit of Gulf livery on the side of that car, of course. Father, a big-time collector of Gulf liveries, and for a long period of time racing in a Gulf livery as well. Now, the cars will be released in theory, 10-second increments, but you also have a 10-second window. Sorry, 20-second increments, isn't it?
No, it's 1 minute increments. One minute
it's
increments.
written right in front of my face.
But you get 10 seconds either, well, 5 seconds either side, totaling 10. So that if you just miss it, because what I think is happening is cars are being released from in front of their garages.
Correct.
So you've got to get that release time right, just as you have in a pit stop that in NLS racing, for instance, they are timed pit stops. So that's the first job of the weekend at the NLS, is to say how long does it take you to drive from pit garage to pit exit without going beneath the designated time. And actually leaping on the brakes there, I noticed the Team WRT BMW M4 concerned perhaps that it might be arriving at pit exit line a little too early.
I imagine the driver's going to have a countdown in his ear, isn't he, as he gets towards that line. So the first car to start a lap time will be Benji Goth, followed by Loic Hartog in the Herbert Motorsport Championship leading Porsche 911 GTR. And then it's Christopher Hasser aboard the Team WRT BMW that we've just seen going out onto circuit. In the first sector of the lap, then we get a chance to see what this McLaren can do under the setting sun. Got to be careful with track limits as well. You only have one lap, and if you do have that lap disallowed, there's not a chance to do another. Got to keep the car 4 wheels inside those white lines.
On certain timing screens, not seeing drivers, but if you go to livetiming.getraceresults.com/24H series, the drivers thankfully are listed there, and we hope correctly as well. It's all the obvious names. So Loic Hartog in the number 10 for Herbert Motorsport. That Porsche is unsurprisingly the nominated driver. Very wide indeed down the hill into turn number 1 for Loic Hartog, in fact. And that Herbert Motorsport car having to thread its way now through these fast sweepers, bumping its way, meanwhile, over the curbs is the 74 McLaren being driven by Ben Goethe, as you've mentioned. And Benji starting now to head towards the end of this one lap that he gets. So any mistakes you've just got to live with and try and mop things up towards the end.
Hartog faster then in the first sector of the lap than the McLaren. And those two on a lap. We've not quite got Christopher Hasser in the BMW on a lap yet, but he will coming across the line any moment now to start his lap as we get a lap in the books from Benji. Round the final turn. Has he kept it within the white lines? It's a 1:56.533, the target time for the first car over the line.
Obviously, the outlap is so key here to trying to switch the tyre on as quickly and as methodically as possible. But bearing in mind that this set of tyres also has to be used in the race. So it's not like a hyperpole session in the World Endurance Championship where if you make it into that part of the weekend, you get a set of tyres that you don't have to use again. You just chuck them in the bin at the end of that 10-minute thrash or so. But these tyres do need to be used and potentially conserved as well.
Mistake in the middle sector for Loic Hartog. He's dropped about half a second on Benji. You would expect him to be faster. Each car that we are meeting is further up the order from our qualifying session. And Hartog comes towards the line, and he's not as fast as the Optimum McLaren. Slots into second position, all thanks to that mistake in the middle sector.
Yeah, that's all it takes to lose, well, quite a bit of time, actually. 1:57.8 for Hartog, 1:56.5 for Benjamin Goethe. So we're talking over a second there as a mistake for the Dutchman. Christopher Hasser is one to look out for in this BMW, the 27, all over the curves, both mid-corner and on the exit as well. And remember about the overlap too, because a car that's just been released from the pit lane might start to interfere with those on a push lap, even though it's been heavily stressed in drivers' briefings yesterday.
And Alexei Nesov doesn't want to back off because it'll lose the temperature in the tyre, so he wants to keep pushing, but he is now perhaps upsetting Christopher Haase, maybe not quite in terms of aerodynamics, but certainly the focus with that Porsche just ahead of him. Haase faster in the middle sector than anybody has been before. Towards the line then.
So here comes the 27 BMW of Christopher Haase over the line, but it's still not quite enough to go quicker than Benjamin Goethe. He missed out by 0.3 of a second, did Haase, diving the door handles off that car, but it wasn't quite enough. You're not comparing like to like, of course. That's the beauty of GT3 racing and how quick one car might be versus the other on single lap speed, which is very different to how the balance of performance is set up, trying to equalize them across an hour-long stint.
Ollie then, faster than brother Benji in a Ferrari run by Dragon Racing. It's the other car from Dragon Racing that unfortunately got penalised and dropped out of this top 10 session, but he's a good couple of tenths faster as well in that middle sector.
So Ferrari way up the curb there into turn number 15. And nice and wide as well on the approach to 16, the final corner. The 88 then of Ollie Goethe is about to cross the line. Meanwhile, he goes fastest. He goes fastest by half a second, no less. So that's bragging rights in the Goethe family already to Ollie in the Dragon Racing Ferrari. Of course, it might not stop there, but at the moment it doesn't stop there because that lap's taken away from him. As we speak, Goethe's dropped to 4th, and he's not going to obviously get another stab at that. So with the first lap that's been deleted, presumably because of track limits, Ollie Goethe is going to drop to the 10th position.
That's exactly what you need to avoid. Maybe that's why he was able to go so fast in that middle sector, because of track limits. And I'm not even really sure where you get the 1:56.053 from, because that will be basically his warm-up lap. So now we watch Alexei Nesov, not as fast in the middle sector, but that purple middle sector will be a reference to Ollie Goethe over the line, and Nesov now on the pole.
Yes, by 1/10 of a second and a couple of hundredths to add into it as well. So Nesov in the number 92 Porsche also has his lap taken away though, and they're dropping like flies here because we now only have 2 legal times. Benji Goethe with the 1:56.5 and provisional pole with it. Christopher Haase is safe and home in, well, at best second fastest in his WRT BMW with a 1:56.8, but the rest of the screen below that, Ben, is absent of times.
Yeah, so Loic Hartog lost his as well. I don't think we reported that one. Goethe has lost his. Alexei Nesov now next man to watch out for. Benji Pack, incredibly strong French driver for TFT that joined the championship in Paul Ricard in the middle of last year and have been real stars ever since.
Now, it's my understanding, having read some of the regulations, admittedly not all of them, but I was cramming before we came on air, and I think it reverts to where they finished in the standard qualifying in terms of how we order those cars that haven't put a lap time in. It's fine when Ollie Goethe, well, it wasn't fine for Ollie himself, but when we only had one car that didn't have a legal time, that's relatively simple to work out. But when there are 3 or 4, or maybe more, in what order are we going to launch them at 1 o'clock tomorrow? But it'll be standard qualifying times, and we've still got plenty, of course, including Benjamin Pack, by the way, in the TFT Racing Mercedes, who's just gone quickest, a full second faster now than Benjamin Goethe. And the longer that Pack time stays there, the more I think it is legal.
Kelvin van der Linde not purple in the middle sector as well as the first sector, but he's surely there and thereabouts. The target is a 1:55.597, a 1:55.597. And van der Linde won't be that far off it, although timing suggests half a second for van der Linde to be right on board.
He's coming out of turn 15 then. This is where a lot of the track limits infringements have been happening. Little bit wide on the approach to 16, and got to watch the exit as well. That was tight, although the curb can count sometimes. So he's about to cross the line now, but you reckon he's down on times. It's 3rd fastest provisionally with a 1:56.566 for Kelvin van der Linde.
What about one of those stalwarts of the Creventic Racing, Pierre Caffer, one-time Audi Works driver, now very much keeping with the brand, running with Michael Doppelmayr, and one of the very fastest that we ever see in any Creventic race across the world. And he's purple in the middle sector in an Audi R8 that is really no longer supported by Audi Sport. All to Formula One, but this car is still balanced and is still fast.
This car finishing third fastest then in conventional qualifying. Not so surprised to see Pierre Caffer being put into it. He's quicker than anybody else through the middle, so the Audi dives to the track surface, and it looks very stable through turning. He'll be fine for track limits coming out. And where to put him is the next question. Second fastest, so he nets at the moment a row start for tomorrow's Sunday's big race. However, there are two more cars to set times yet.
Gave away a couple of tenths of a set to the lap, and that he couldn't reverse. Now two Mercedes to finish off this shootout. It's a Mercedes on the pole position right now, but it's Winward Racing with the two cars that haven't yet to set times. Lukas Stolz will be first, and then Marvin Dents the last car to run.
So it was a perfect result for Racing, locking out the two positions in standard qualifying, but as we noted at the time, that all that did was top 10. Can they translate that into two quick single lap times then to lock out the front rows? Well, the times from Benjamin Pack and Pierre Caffer stand in their way. Was that a little bit of a on the edit of turn 15?
Both well off. They're both well off. Nearly a second slower and over a second slower, the two cars. Stolz comes towards the line. Fifth position for Lukas Stolz.
And like you say, Marvin Dienst is looking similarly pace. Tracher 38.6 for Stolz, and he's not actually there either. So, mind you, the cars, well, we're getting sector times of those in laps, so reference points not particularly useful, but Marvin Dienst is slower than so sixth place at best, but Winward Racing, having put in such a good aggregate time across three sessions, just their tyres on as readily as the Audi and the McLaren. However, there is a Mercedes on provisional pole, so Ben Pack's done something that these guys haven't been able to replicate.
I mean, Marvin lost a second in the first sector and now only drops 0.2 after that, so a mistake, I would say, in the first sector of the lap. Similarly, losing a lot of time at the start of the lap for Lukas Stolz. It looks as though Winward Racing are going to lose that provisional pole position to TFT.
It is sixth place, so Lukas Stolz benchmark was useful to follow that, because as soon as Marvin Dienst posted the time that was half a second slower than his teammate, we knew that the teal and black car wasn't going to produce anything special compared to exactly the same car, but prepared by a different team. TFT to tagged pole position in this first ever top 10 shootout for the 21st edition of the Michelin 24 Hours of Dubai. It was a quick, short, sharp session that you had to stay glued to find out where the speed was going to come from. But a massive credit there to Benjamin Pack for turning the tyres on during the outlap and then producing the 155.597, which is 0.3 of a second quicker than Pierre Caffer's Audi, which looked very, very stable throughout. Didn't really seem to be creating any fireworks until he crossed the line, that was. And it's a Mercedes and Audi front row from Optimum Motorsport, who at the start of this session didn't even know they were going to be part of it. In fact, they must have got a very, very late call. And third position is a huge credit to Benjamin Goethe, because he will have got the call to get into that car and get himself psyched up for qualifying, and he's done a splendid job.
Yeah, very much so. Getting on to the pole in GT3, because the two cars ahead of him are actually Pro-Am entries. Here's the celebration inside the French, effectively national team. They don't really do a huge amount of international racing, well known at the FFSA. But Marvin Klein in that lineup as a pro driver, but Benji Pack doing the time as the semi-pro. And he really has shone in that car. Shares that car across the 24 hours with Patrick Charlier, Jordan Boisson, his longtime teammate, and Marvin Klein, as I said. So a Mercedes AMG to watch out for from TFT. And clearly plenty of celebrations down there.
Well, he does have experience of the 24-hour race here in Dubai from the past, but in 992 Cup racing with Seb Lajou Racing and then with TFT, the team who've stepped up to the GT3 entry. Still only 20 years old. Feels like we've been talking about Benji Pack for a good few years, but just hitting 20 in March of last year. And yeah, this race will firmly become his favourite pretty soon, I'm sure, to be able to take that car to pole position. Whether he starts it, we'll have to find out at 1 o'clock tomorrow. I know Carla's waiting in the wings to squeeze in and have a word and offer her congratulations, because it was a pretty dominant affair in the end. A quarter of a second quicker than everybody else in the top 10 shootout.
Benjamin, congratulations. What a mega lap you've put out there. Tell me, what are you feeling right now?
Thank you. Yeah, I'm feeling great. So happy to be on pole. I put it everything I had. So yeah, super happy. We worked together with the team, so we had a good car. Thank you to my mechanics, engineers, teammates for the support. So no, super happy, and now we have a race to finish.
Now, your Mercedes did something different than the other two that were out there, because they didn't come close to you. What did you have that they didn't?
I don't know. No, I seriously don't know. Maybe they was not 100% push, or I don't know. Our Mercedes was great, and that's the most important. We are looking for about us and the Pro-Am. So yeah, super happy to be in pole, and we will see tomorrow.
What will your focus be now between now and 1 o'clock in the afternoon tomorrow? How are you going to prepare for such a big race?
Yeah, like a normal one, have a good sleep, and I don't know who's taking the start, so we will decide now. And but yeah, no pressure, and just drive. And to win a race, you first have to finish. So yeah, main focus is to finish the race, to do a clean one, and let's hope to bring a podium and maybe a victory.
Mega. Enjoy the celebrations and see you tomorrow.
Thank you so much. See you tomorrow.
Ben Pack chatting to Carla Velti, and very much keeping his powder dry there. He wasn't necessarily the obvious name to put in the car with Marvin Klein as part of that lineup, as Ben made the point, but he was in the end a quarter of a second quicker than Pierre Caffer, who's clearly no slouch in his Santaloc Junior team, Audi. Then the Optimum Motorsport McLaren, the surprise entry after that technical infringement for the 777 Al-Manar car. It was not permitted to take part in qualifying, so its replacement bags third position on the grid. 669 Kelvin van der Linde's Team WRT BMW. They are defending champions of this race, of course, as well. Then the two Winward Racing Mercedes. Really a tinge with disappointment, I'm sure, and Lucas Stoltz and Marvin Dietz may be scratching their heads a little bit as to why they couldn't turn the tyres on quickly enough. The other Team WRT entry of Chris Haase eventually dropping down to 7th position. And then we've got three cars that didn't post any times at all because they all crossed over the track limits. So Loic Hartog, Ollie Goethe and Alexei Nesov for Herbert Motorsport, Dragon Racing and Pure Racing prop up the field in 8th, 9th and 10th places. But the thing about single lap qualifying is that it doesn't necessarily tell you the story of who's got the speed clearly over 24 hours. It's a fascinating and frantic way to go qualifying, and we loved every minute of this. I'm sure that the top 10 shootout will be staying, whether it's just a Dubai thing or whether it might be integrated into the European part of the season as well, moving into 2027. That would be anyway. Pierre Caffer, though, certainly is used to this kind of format and didn't waste any time at all in his Audi. We were waiting for the pace from the Winward Racing Mercedes, which eventually did not come. 5th and 6th places, but ahead of many cars with no times. Congratulations again to TFT Racing. What can they do in the race is the next question, Ben.
Well, they are Pro-Am entry, so obviously the 4 combination is what we really need to see. There's a full-fat GT3 car in 3rd position, and what an exciting opportunity for Optimum in 3rd position with their McLaren after qualifying initially down in 11th spot.
We're back with all of the race from tomorrow. 12:15 is the time that we are on air. If you're in Central Europe, 9:15, you can do the relevant calculations if you're elsewhere around the world. It is a 1 o'clock start. It always used to be 3 going back, 3 or 4 years, but has become slightly earlier, which means an earlier finish, of course, on Sunday afternoon. But 24 hours covered right here on the Radio Show Limited network of channels and the 24H series YouTube channel. We cannot wait. From Carlo Velti down in the pit lane, from Ben Constanduris and me, Johnny Palmer. We'll see you tomorrow.
Town. 24 hours here, starting at 1 o'clock this weekend.
5.3 kilometres, getting in for just over 3.5 miles.
Now, we have a massive crowd here.
Biggest grids in GT3 and Porsche 992 Cup that we've ever seen. Historic numbers of cars. The intensity is ramping up. The green flag is in there, and the Porsche straight away tries to get it going. It's a long, long run on the top of the brow and down towards the first corner. Behind the Pure Racing and right there. Side by side through the first corner. Manoeuvre. This is going to be a bit closer. It's only 16 seconds as he goes on to his last lap now.
Between their brand new machine, the M4 GT3 Evo.
Congratulations, you've got the car home, you've won the Dubai 20.